Hello YouTubers, Joe Kersey here on Monday, February 20th, 2017, President's Day. That's a faux holiday, isn't it? And Paul came over today around 11:30 and we sat and yacked for a bit. So here's some of that. Enjoy. I wonder if you're going to come over today or tomorrow.
Heather shooting shit. I have a cigarette yesterday. Now I know why people say don't hire the family members. I've got Benny and his entire family here. She said, God. They're a pain in the ass. I said, oh, you mean Louise? She says, oh. She said, let's not go there. She said, the kid is stripping half the room. Benny's stripping the other half. Benny's down with his half. She said, he's walking around so damn slow up there. I've yelled at him twice and told him to get the lead out of his ass and get moving.
Well, that doesn't really fit the...
She has other stuff to do.
That doesn't really fit the stereotypes of, Mexican workers. They're usually pretty, hammer and tongs at it.
He just crawls around, walks around real slow. You think he was a 90-year-old person.
He's become Americanized.
And then he'll stop and he'll go shooting shit and that with all the housekeepers. And the other told me, she says, you've got no business stopping and shooting shit with them. She said, you're supposed to be cleaning their rooms out so they can get going and get the rooms ready for the guests checking in. She said, we wind up with people hanging out in the lobby because they can't get in the room they have reserved. Because you're up here hanging out in the hallways. And the rooms aren't getting done. She said, we're staying here late at night again.
Yeah.
She said, we gotta stop this shit. She said, get moving. She said, run behind the cart like your dad and Paul died. Shit, Paul can clean out 3 floors of this building in 1 hour. She said, it takes 6.5, 7 hours. She said, then you walk around the rest of the day with 2 rags in your hand playing with windows.
Well, yeah, that's the Roger Dewar technique that, he said when he didn't really want to do much work in the operating room on any given day, he'd just take one of these mop buckets, on the
and
wheel.
go off to the back hall without you.
Yeah, and he went back to the back hall and just sort of walked around, pushing this wet mop, every now and again.
Meanwhile, people in laundry, they're waiting to get laundries so they can wash the stuff and get it back up. Because it keep having to restock the housekeepers. Well, they're not getting anything down because the little shit ain't getting anything out of any of the rooms. I can go up there with an empty cart and run around in the hallway and I can fill it up 3 or 4 times and get all the shit back down to the laundry room. So you keep going.
No, you do have a very good work ethic. You
Like,
always
yeah.
have.
Yesterday, ran out of pillowcases. Everybody was needing pillowcases. I had 7 housekeepers. I went up there. Benny and I told him, you've got to separate all your pillowcases from the sheets and that, sheets and towels, and get them to me. Gotta have them. Everybody's out of pillowcases. Oh, they're in my cart. And I went looking, I said, where? And he had, he'd throw everything on the bed and roll the sheets up in a ball. I said, where are they? And he'd get, oh, they're in here. I said, separate them, dummy. And I yanked the thing out of the cart and shook it out on the floor. And I went throwing the pillowcases off to the side. So I had piles of sheets and towels on one side of the hallway, and I had piles of pillowcases on the other side. And I'm stuffing them in a large trash bag, filling them up, a large trash bag up with pillowcases. He says, now what are you up to, Mr. Paul? I said, I'm taking them to the washing machine so I can give them back to the housekeepers.
Pillowcases are very useful for all sorts of things.
I said, I need bedspreads. I said, we're out of them.
But finally got too much crust on it from all the bodily fluids.
Well, we had all
You
these.
put the UV light on it, the thing turned solid blue. What?
We had tons of kids in the place. So they had to keep replacing, the covers. And we kept running out of them.
I never changed my sheets once when I was in college.
Finally, I get everything down to the point. Went down there, and the old lady running the laundry room, she said, well, I can't get in there. She said, the door won't open. I went over there, I unlocked the door. I went, shit, no, you couldn't. You could get your arm in it. One arm in it. So I'm standing there leaning on the thing, shoving on it, reaching in and pulling this stuff, shaking them out of bundles and pulling the stuff out one by one. Finally, about 4:30, I was able to get the door open wide enough that I could squeeze my body between the door and the door frame. And there's all the stuff we needed for the covers of the bed was on the very top of this stack, almost to the ceiling. I'm standing there yanking them down. I filled up 2 laundry carts with these things. I had these laundry carts heaped in mountain style with blankets and bedspreads. I yanked them out, took them in the laundry room, and Benny's in there by then. He's helping, and he says, I can't get in the laundry room. And I went over and because I told him what we were out of and had to have for the room. And he says, they're in the room, can't get them. So I filled up 2 carts from the shaft room, and I bring them back in, and I said, here you go. And he goes, great. He says, fill the washers up. Wait a minute. I said, okay, what do you set the washers for doing this? I said, how many do you put in each washer? He said, cram it. I'm cramming these giant washers full of this stuff, max I could get in them. And then they'd finish.
Not conducive to efficient washing.
I'd empty them all out of the thing. Well, shit, it's like nothing on them. The people only
Well, that's true.
slept
That's
one fucking
That's
night.
right. That's right. It's not like they're really dirty, are they? Yeah.
So then I bring them. I go to put it in the dryer. Go to load in the dryer. It goes, oh no! You can only put 3, maybe 4 at a time in the dryer. And I said, and they have to dry for an hour. I said, they're not that wet.
I don't even think this dryer down here, dries for more than about 20 minutes at a time sometimes. But that washing machine gets the water out so much better than the other one did.
Yeah. But I said, and he says, you can take care of that. He says, I'm going to go home. He said, my wife is done. And I'm standing there, and it's like 53 minutes for the day to dry. And I'm saying, this is ridiculous. I'm never going to get this shit done and get anything back up for housekeepers that need this stuff.
Yeah.
I ain't open the damn dryer door. Hell, the stuff is dry.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I'm
After
always
10
surprised.
minutes.
I'm also always surprised, that if you go down, even with this one, although it's got that moisture sensor now that it pretty well cuts off as soon as they are dry. But even sometimes it misguesses, and you can stop it ahead of time and it's dry.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the time of year too, how much moisture's in the air. This time of year, humidity's low. Not like summer ones.
So I got the 2 laundry carts. They were finally in the big one. And I'm taking these big duvet things out of the dryer and I'm laying them crossways so they're not down in the basket, and that way they would wrinkle, over the night. Till the folders come back in the morning. Well, a couple of housekeepers, they needed duvets so we could sell the rooms. So I sit there and I fold them in half. Side by side, and I'm measuring them on the side of the table to figure what size they are. Because I just ran upstairs and the one down the room, she needed a duvet there. So I went down there, I had this big stack of these things. So I'm going through all of them, and after about 6 or 8 of them, I found a king. I grabbed the damn thing, rolled it up in a ball, and took off for the nearest elevator and run it up to her. I said, here, let's make the bed. We got to sell the room. I've got people waiting on it. This is at 6:30 last night.
Good grief.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like there's really been a significant shift in how things,
Okay, had a room, 117. It needed a duvet. Room 118 should not have been put back in the records because Donna, the GM, she wanted to have this movie day for kids yesterday.
No, that's right. You had mentioned that.
In the meeting room. So,
How bad?
I was told, go to 118 and take out the DVD player and use it in the meeting room.
Well, I think the meeting room would have a DVD player in it anyway.
Done.
Huh.
So I did. So during 117 needed a duvet, I thought, well, we can't use 118 because stuff for watching the TV is not in there. In case, somebody would want to watch a DVD, they're not going to be able to do it. So I'm going to get to 18.
Stopped off at the Lion's Den on Morris Road before they came up to the hotel.
I'm going to steal the duvet out of 18 and put it in 17 because everyth's in the room.
I like that porno shop next to Drexel closed.
No. They'd rented 118 and 118 had a do not disturb sign on the door.
Yes, my general policy is to hang my do not disturb sign on my outside handle or knob at all times. Well, not knob anymore, I guess it's all
So,
doorknob in a hotel. When did you see that last?
I went back again.
Actually, Boston one had
hunting around because some of the housekeepers keep these things on their carts. Right at the last minute,
big knife, big shield.
I'm also checking to see if the dumbass kid didn't bother to take trash off the housekeeper's carts like he did the night before. Went in there and boom, there's a king duvet laying on top of the cart in a bag. It's marked king. I took off of it with it and went running down, come flying out of the elevator. I've got this thing in my hand, and Heather's standing there. She said, "What's that?" I said, "It's a king duvet. I'm going straight to 117 and make it up so we can turn the room back in." She said, "Hell, throw it in the door." She said, "I'll do that." She said, "What else are you got doing?" I said, "I'm running the laundry. Everybody left. I'm washing and drying duvets so I can get them, they'll get back up here. So we'll have them for tomorrow." She says, "Perfect." She said, "I'll see you later." So it's like 6:45, she walks in the laundry room, and I've got them all done and, like I said, stretched out over the laundry carts so they wouldn't wrinkle up. I said, there was a big pile of them. I said, "I've got all these duvets done, and I've got blankets and dryers going." I said, "And then I'm going to get the cleaning rags going for tomorrow." And I said, "Now I've got another load of duvets in the washer," and I said, "They can spend the night in the washer and they can get it dried in the morning and start folding." She said, "Perfect." She said, "Let's get the F out of here and go home." She said, "It's going on 7 p.m., 7 o'clock. I said, "I'm with you. I'm right behind you."
Well, yeah, I imagine so. That's like 3 hours, 2.5 hours anyway.
She said, "I'm probably going to beat you out the door." Plus, start off, I was not supposed to be there till 9 o'clock yesterday.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But there was a late meeting in the room Saturday. The room had to be switched over for this kid movie day thing.
Movie day.
So, I went in at 7. I got there at 7 and started ripping that room apart and cleaning it up, setting it up, getting her ready for this movie day thing. And nobody showed up. As soon as I had it all cleaned up and ready to go, families and stuff with new tablecloths and everything, bam, there's no room for anybody to eat breakfast. It became an overflow room for breakfast. So you got all these families in there using my business tables and slopping food all over. So then as soon as breakfast was over, I had to go back into the meeting room, strip all the tables again, put out all new tablecloth, replace all the centerpieces.
What's the point of centerpieces, actually? But,
Oh! Ours is like, if the meeting is not going on, it's for people just to hang out in. We've got these little square glass things with these little green sprout things sticking up out of it to add color to the room. Other than everything being black in it, you got a green thing sitting in the center of it. A green fake flat plant of sorts.
the timeless elegance of botanical plastic.
Because I'm running a meeting thing because the head of sales, that usually does it, is out of town for 2 weeks.
Oh.
So that man I had this real picky bitch to deal with coming in on Saturday morning.
You go to rehab? Most of these
So I was
sales
in
guys
there
are big
late
drinkers.
Saturday. She's the only one that shows up that has to have skirts on every damn table in her
Oh,
meeting room.
that's another one. I've never understood the point of that either.
Okay, well,
You're going to see somebody's legs or feet.
yeah, we have a Velcro edge on the skirts,
Yeah.
but we don't have any kind of a Velcro clamp that you can hook on the edge of the table to hook the skirts to. You have to take these weird, like, hat pin needles
Oh, okay.
and punch them through the Velcro and then stick them through the tablecloth
Well, that kind of
so they'll
obviates,
hang up on the
obviates the whole point of Velcro, doesn't it?
Really? So I'm in there fighting with this thing to get this room just right for this woman. I get it done, and this is like, again, late. It's getting dark out. I've finally got it done, fighting with this stuff, and Heather walks in. She's, "You've got this room looking perfect." She said, "That woman better not bitch. She doesn't have many to go to about it." I said, "No." I said, "Manny's off for 2 weeks." I said, "I've got the room."
Oh, Manny's the sales fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, "It's my thing." I said, "They get to come to me." I said, "They go to the front desk calls me." I said, "I come down and I deal with the people."
You know, my cousin Charles was one of these sales managers out in Las Vegas.
Yeah. She says, "So you're going to be supplying the housekeepers, collecting dirty laundry, cleaning the hotel, and dealing with business people for the next 2 weeks." I said, "Yeah."
I think he worked for Hilton at one point, and then somebody caught him fucking his secretary on his desk. Then he ended up down in Arizona with Del Webb for a while, and then he ended up, after his divorce,
Back out in California, and then he
well,
died with
well, that
had
was
a
the
heart
first.
attack and died.
Yeah, he had made it to California before, but he would do these things where he'd set up these like trade fairs in big convention halls. That was what he ended up doing in the end. Died at he was 44.
This Luis was going on is how he works over at the Quest Center, which is nothing but a big conference thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He
Yeah.
works over there at night. I
It's
said,
like a
"Well,
warehouse almost. Isn't it?
yeah." I said, "Well, you can help me with it. Get these rooms ready when I need to." He says, "No, I never do that part." He says, "I just clean the rooms." He said, I just vacuum them." He says, "I don't set them up or anything." I thought, great.
Specialization of labor.
I said, well, I don't have time to teach you this yet.
That one Thorsten Veblen said that. Who was it that came up with that? Specialization of labor. It was Thorsten Veblen.
Yeah, that's what's been going on.
Well, good. Good.
So, kind of like Friday night, I was walking by the front desk tonight, and the assistant GM was still there, and I said, that woman never complained today, did she? She says, no, she thought the room was perfect.
Good. Excellent.
I said, about time. I said, 6 months ago, all she did was sit in there and bitch about the room. She said, yeah, she said, the general manager, she said, and Heather worked and set that room up. She said, and the woman didn't like anything about it. And Manny was even in there.
Well, you really need to have people that actually do the work, doing the work.
Because Edie sat there one day in a meeting, she sat there and she says, I don't have to worry about the Lewis room anymore. She says, I've got him. She says, he's been doing this stuff for years at another hotel. She says, he gets everything right. She says, he'll even figure out how to get what's needed done, and there still be room for people to move in the room.
Well, you're getting,
even though the room is small.
You're getting on to 26 years of doing this now, right? Well, you had 23 when you left corporate housing, and then went to that.
Yeah.
The other place, and so I mean it's been at least 26 years of doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Any luck getting on the internet? Any luck with Wi-Fi?
No, I haven't even tried,
Haven't even tried?
running around with it.
No.
The doing this stupid movie thing. I had the stuff pulled all the way to the back, and this way the kids could sit on the floor or whatever and watch the giant screen.
I never liked sitting on the floor.
In the room. Well, I had, table chairs in there and stuff. Well, no. So about 7 when I'm leaving, there's this couple of young kids hanging out in the place, and there was this good-looking guy out there.
No.
Standing around, constantly looking at his phone.
Always good to have a secondary gain there.
And his assistant manager looked
Dave Brightner.
Are you waiting for the movie? He said, yeah. He said, but it's not till 7:30. I said, you're in luck. I said, we already got it set up, and we've got the movie in there, and we even got it turned on and starting, because we wanted to make sure that the DVD would work. And it's like, early! And all these kids hanging out in the lobby would charge down the hallway for the room.
Hanging out.
And there comes this other whole family, mom, dad, and a big pack of kids come out of the pool. And they said, when's the movie going to start? Because we want to give our kids something to do tonight. And I
Right,
said, it's
yeah.
going down.
Right.
So they went straight from the pool, wet clothes and all, into the littlest room, watched the movie and started eating
what movie was it?
popcorn and chips and stuff.
What movie was it?
Some stupid characterization thing called Troll.
This camera is a perpetual mystery to me. Because my head doesn't think like these computer menu programs think, or want you to think, or whoever designed them was thinking.
Yeah.
I recorded. Well, I told you about it.
Look at it. Tony.
Yeah, it's worked out. Well, actually,
Yeah, but you said it took like 13 and a half
Oh,
hours
no,
for it.
upload. Yeah. No, but the recording of it went well. I have no idea why. Well, I know why. I've mentioned that. I'm going round and round now on this, but I just don't like the Mad Max effect, you know.
I was playing with mine today, and I can actually get Google on my phone.
On your phone? Oh, on that little Nokia thing? Really? Well, I guess you can actually come to think of it. That's going to be very interesting to see when that wanders in.
I mean, I can even zoom the visual up to 150%.
Okay. Well, we'll wait and see what happens next month.
But I didn't do it. I didn't do anything on it. I just got up there and I turned it all off.
That's good. I don't recognize that number. I'll have to wait and see if they then leave a voice message. When they leave a voice message, it actually dings like with a text message.
Yeah.
I've been getting these Medicare Advantage plan solicitations on my cell phone. That's why I basically, if I don't recognize a number, or it's not in my contacts list, I don't answer it.
Yeah.
The only people who have that number are some of the financial stuff. You, Thomas, the people at church have it.
Lives in Henry.
Lives in Henry, of course. I think my sister has it, for what that's worth.
I think Thomas has got mine.
Yeah. No, I mean he has yours. Yeah.
You, Liz, Henry,
Yeah.
and then all the managers at the hotel and the other supervisors. They've got it.
And it's working out. I mean, the phone works as a phone for you.
Yeah.
I fell asleep with this thing on my chest last night while it was still on. I woke up at about 4:30 in the morning and said the battery's down to 15%. What?
Oh. Benny and Louise kept taking stuff up to Rosie yesterday. Well, the other housekeepers kept complaining. Rosa's constantly getting resupplied. None of us are. Well, went to Benny and Louise. Well, she telephones us and tells us she's running low on something, so we take it to her.
You know, your head's cut off in that shot right now.
And so Heather, she went around to the housekeepers and she gave them all Benny's phone number and Louise's phone number. And she said, here, you go running short on something. She said, telephone him just like his wife does.
Oh, passive aggressivity.
In order him to bring stuff to you.
Very nice.
She says, that'll solve the favoritism problem.
I imagine
here.
it might, yeah. Very good, very good.
And they're like,
Biding her time, and she
you
counts.
mean it'll work? She said, it better.
That'll work. You get some guy's wife giving him a ration of shit when he doesn't expect it. That almost always works. Well, straight people anyway. Never worked with me.
I said, you know, I said, if I walk by Rose and she needs a couple, you know, I check her board and go by, you know, the Y's. Because the Y's means she's got to change sheets in those rooms, even if they're stay-overs. I said, and she's running short. I said, I'll give her a couple. I said, but I also go to the other housekeepers and see how if they're running short. And I said that I'll split the stuff up so everybody's running equal. Heather says, yeah, I know. She said, I just can't get the others. I can't get your other two to do that. She said, they only go to one. She said, Luis goes to Mama, and Benny goes to Wifey. And I said, yeah, I know. I said, everybody was running low on towels yesterday. I said, and Benny only mentioned one person. She said, yeah, I know. Rosa. I said, that wasn't a hard figure out, was it? She said, no. Because Bonnie is constantly, you know, she's getting the towels up and going, you know, keeping some towels going too. And I'm constantly that, I'll take them all. Like I did it on Benny yesterday. I went down and I grabbed an empty laundry cart and I took all the bath towels and stuff off of the shelves again. He said, well, we're not going to have anything for tomorrow. I said, tomorrow's a dead day. It's Monday.
Yeah.
I said, today we got 70 rooms to worry about. I said, the housekeepers are running out. And he goes, well, what about Rosa? I said, I don't have to worry about Rosa. I said, you and Louise's take care of her. I said, you're skipping everybody else. I said, they're out.
I guess there won't be any mail today either, will there?
That's President's Day. I didn't get to the bank,
Well, I didn't either, but
so I got $1 on me.
well, the bank should. I don't know. Some of the banks are open, some of the banks aren't.
All I know is Chase had a thing closed 20th.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's closed. But you can use your credit card.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not take a cash advance, of course, but I mean you could, but that would be idiotic. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have a debit card, do you?
No.
No. Well,
but I can still use my
yeah.
thing in an ATM and get a cash advance.
Yeah, but then they charge you like this huge ass fee for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I said, screw
I mean,
it,
well,
you know.
well, if you want to go buy,
I don't know. I've never done
if
it.
you want to buy beer and cigarettes, you can just charge it.
I did.
Yeah, I don't take credit card.
Yeah.
I didn't get a debit card till I got this new Sapphire thing, for traveling.
Yeah, when you went.
And I've only used it once just to test it, and I used it over here. They gave me 320s.
They're all brand new.
Oh yeah, they were sequential serial numbers. I was flabbergasted. And of course, you can't really easily get those bastards apart.
You gotta twist a lot of them.
Because they're like almost like low grade really fine sandpaper.
Yeah. They're going on, at the front desk trying to give.
I guess now we'll have Harriet
gas. Breaking bills for gas.
Instead of Andrew Jackson, we'll have Harriet Tubman, our $20 bill.
And the girl was standing there at the front desk. She said, they're sticking together. And I said, give it to me. She handed me the stack. And I went doing this. She said, what are you doing? I said, old bills break apart. They don't stick together. So
you do have
to wadding them up.
Actually, what I've done in the past is if I had other 20s, I'd intersperse the used 20s, and then I'd carry I'd carry them around that way so that you wouldn't.
Right, put the old.
I got to remember did I give him $20 yesterday? Yeah, I gave him $20 yesterday at church. I think I did. Yeah, I did because Penny Rushmore and I took up the offering. Yeah. And I pulled up my billfold and tossed a 20 in the plate before we went up.
Well, last Friday or Saturday, I took off and went to the bank and got some cash. And I gave Luis my radio. And I said, here, take this in case somebody needs something. You can stop what you're doing and do it. And not think about it. And he goes, I don't like this. I got too much stuff in my pockets. It's hard to carry. I said, do you want me to empty my pockets?
I never like carrying a pager either there, Louise.
I said, you don't want to know what I have in my pocket. So I left and he said, well, where are you going?
Put the dogs and kids away on
He
this.
says, why are you leaving? I said, I have to go on an errand for the hotel. I said, I'll be back. Don't worry about it. I said, you're lucky if it's going to be 15 minutes.
Let's see what bullshit this is. Okay, this is going to be good. Nice good, but it kind of comes at an inopportune moment.
Come on. Speak.
Oh, maybe. Oh.
Hi, Mr. Joe. This is Maggie.
That's Maggie.
For the poor
Yes.
in Coconut Creek, Florida.
Yes.
I'm calling to first thank you so much for your kindness and generosity and faithfulness to God's poor. We just want you to know how much we greatly appreciate you. Also, we prayed for you today, and I just wanted to see if there was any prayer needs. Sorry I missed you. In fact, I never get to you. I do hope you get my message.
Yes, I do.
You've been a blessing. We're very grateful. Have a super day and a super year. God bless you.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot there, Maggie. No, I mean, it's not. I mean, it's just, there's no. I have spoken with her a couple of times, but a long time ago.
Okay. I took off, shot over to the bank, got some cash, came back,
I'm glad you remembered.
and I come in the front door and I'm zigzagging through the front desk and that, gonna get my keys and get going again. Luis comes flying. Here, take this, and he's holding,
Oh, the radio.
holding the thing out. And I said, can't you get me a minute to get set, get done with what I'm doing?
Yeah, could you not abide?
Just coming back? He says, no, I can't stand this thing. He says, I don't like it. And he said, and I have too much stuff in my pocket. Again. I said, fine.
So this is worse than crossing the Rio Grande.
So I take it from him. And the GM turns around and she says, they really don't like that radio, do they?
Well, no, nobody does. Nobody
I said, no.
No sentient being likes one of those radios strapped to them.
I said, neither one of them will have anything to do with it.
No.
Not even for a minute. Well, I also had to go and get things of bottled water.
Oh, what idiocy, bottled water.
Alright, so I would...
Water in a bottle's okay, but bottled water.
Okay, well, Luis
Okay.
knows I parked by the back door. Well, he was down there by the back door doing something. I'm back there, I've got a luggage cart. I came out of the first floor storage room where we store the stuff. And I had all these things of bottled water on this luggage cart. And I'm headed back up where we store them for. So we have instant access to them, instead of special keys and having to run all through the building to get it for gas. And you went out and bought water for the hotel? And I said, somebody's...
I'm sorry,
I said, somebody's got to do it, Luis. He says, why do you? I said, well, certain ones of us in the hotel have privilege to go off and buy stuff for the hotel.
You got these big fat Walmart people, big butts hanging out, foot and a half either side. Yeah. And they go in and they load up these cases, of bottled water, in plastic bottles,
Yeah.
I think,
Outside of a pop bottle.
why would you, maybe you buy one, okay, and then you just keep refilling it. Why do you have to buy these cases of bottled water,
If you're drinking that much water, why are you so big?
wearing their attractive yoga stretch pants. Well, I guess in Walmart it wouldn't mean necessarily be yoga. That's not sort of a yogurt and crystal
Yoga
crowd.
group.
It's not a yoga and crystal crowd in Walmart.
Hey, they're running around in the hotel too.
Pints a pound the world around, so one of these 12 packs, let's see, that's about a pint bottle. And maybe it's not quite a pint. Yeah, I don't know. I never really looked at it closely, because why would I? I got water right here.
There was somebody in the room yesterday. He had it was a husband and wife, and they've got like 6 kids, and they're all like the same height. And he came over to the front desk and he said, "Can I have like 3 large trash bags?" He says, "I want to help clean up the room." He said, "So it won't be so bad on the housekeeper."
Yeah, sometimes it's useful, you know. Curry's a little favor, you know.
He said, "When we leave, tomorrow," and I said, "Okay." I said, "Do you want room service today?" He said, "Well, yeah." He says, "We're getting ready to go to the pool." He says, "So while we're at the pool, she can come in and do the room while we're gone." He said, "If it's not that too expensive to have them do it." I said, "It's included in your package." And he goes, "Oh, I've already paid for it." I said, "Yeah." I said, "When you paid for the room on your credit card," I said, "you're also paying for room service." He goes, "Oh." He said, "I thought it was extra." And I said, "No."
Well, see, that's the thing. I don't, you know, obviously there's times you have to stay at a hotel, you know. But I was never like Brad, who, you know, he just loved to stay at hotels and use everything and do everything. And I think, why? You know, it's a place to sleep, you know.
Yeah.
Place to maybe look at a little TV, you know, take a shower, take a shit.
Get up and go and do your business.
Yeah, but
Come
you know,
back.
this idea of like, oh, I'm going to go stay at the Greenbrier, or I'm going to go stay at...
Yeah, but he would do it for the hell of it.
Yeah, Sea Island. Well, yeah, I mean, well, whatever floats your boat. I mean, it's just like, to me it was a point. Now, I have to admit, I did enjoy the Radisson in Durham. But, you know, that was pretty much it as far as me being able to find anything in Durham. The other one didn't have a car park. This one, you know, the Radisson has a car park. And they don't fuck you on the price of it, the daily price of it.
Hey, well, it gets, you know, all right, well, you know, what brings you to town today? And, you know, so, oh, I'm here on business, and, you know, I've got a meeting, I got a corporate meeting and stuff like that. I'm in town, you know, business. Well, I'm with a construction company. I'm here with them. And then I like the ones that'll come in and they go, "Well, we're getting bored at home. We just wanted to change the pace."
Yeah, everybody's got their own reasons for going to a hotel.
Kid, they live right here in town. "Oh, we just wanted to change the pace."
It was like that. Well, I guess the people going to that one hotel we tried in Ann Arbor when we had Capricorn along. I don't think we had Pro yet at that time. Did we? When we were in Ann Arbor, and we ended up the first one we looked into was clearly a whorehouse. And then we went across I-75, or well, actually it was US 23, and we went over across the other side, the east side, and got into a legitimate. And then Capricorn was. We didn't have Pro with us then, did we? Maybe we did have both dogs.
I think we did.
We did have both dogs.
We
Yeah.
snuck them in the back porch.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the back steps there. Yeah. They were really good in motels and hotels.
Yeah,
They
because
really
I
were.
mean, Cat barked first time he heard somebody going down the hallway.
Yeah.
And I said, "No, you gotta
Yeah.
be a secret."
You gotta
So
be a
then
secret.
You'd walk it. So every time you'd hear somebody, then from then on, he'd.
Yeah, no. It's interesting. He did understand, or they did see understand the
He would
phrase.
instantly just
Be a
do a
secret.
growl
Yeah,
under his breath.
Be a secret. Yeah, yeah.
Kind of whispering.
And it had that great little balcony. They could go out there and they could piss off the
piss
off the balcony. Yeah, yeah. It was about there were about three floors. I think there were 3 floors. It was 3 floors, wasn't it? All right. And of course, Pro is always so good about you know, any travel. Heidi, good Lord. Can you imagine Heidi in a hotel room at night?
You couldn't sneak that bitch.
No, it would be a constant state of alarm is what it would have been.
Oh, that one plate we stopped coming back, and we took the last room.
Oh, that was where all the mosquitoes
blood,
came. The mosquitoes came in.
Blood was all.
Yeah, and you had blood on the walls the next morning from all the mosquitoes. Yeah, you know.
The guy said, "We got a thing. There's a thing about mosquitoes around here."
Yeah. Well, we're right next to that swamp, and they came in through the air conditioner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said, "You're really too close to the swamp. You really don't want down there."
I sprayed the air conditioner with off, and that slowed down a little bit of them coming in, but.
Yeah, we even hung a towel over the woman.
Yeah, it was
and
just
soaked it with.
Oh, it was just.
Stuff.
But so you know, I'd get up. I think I spent most of the night up killing these things. It's like you had these. You
constantly heard this.
You had bloody handprints all over the walls in that motel. It looked like somebody had been murdered in there.
Like a splatter from being shot in the main artery.
Well, I think, unfortunately, despite the fact I put off on the dogs, that they bore the major brunt of that, and unfortunately, most of it on their face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I didn't really
yeah,
have a
because we
spray.
put it on our hands, we rubbed it on their face.
Yeah, but there's still a little bit of unprotected.
On their nose.
Yeah. They didn't make a peep. They didn't make a fucking peep.
Uh-huh.
That was where was that? Was
we had the 79.
Oh no, yeah, we were in the. I think we were in the 79.
79 truck. We backed the truck up, put the tailgate
Yeah,
down.
and then
They could walk straight
They walked
into the
right
truck.
straight across on the little pavement.
We used to tailgate as a bridge,
I'm
so
trying to
he'd
think-
walk right into the truck.
I'm trying to think where we were.
We just came down across Mac. Because we'd been way up north with them.
Oh, we'd been over to. Was that when we went to McLean State Park there up on the Keweenaw Peninsula there north of Houghton? I bet it was. Yeah.
But we stayed in some because we didn't have the trailer with us.
No, we'd stayed. Oh no, that's right. It wasn't that. Okay.
Oh, we had to be coming back from Drummond for some reason when we stopped at that place.
Yeah, well, we were. Yeah, well, then there was Iron. Of course, that was we had the trailer with us then too. But we didn't have the trailer with us. This was probably. It might have been the 85 rather than the.
I was thinking it was 70.
It might have been. It might have been. 79 might have been when we at Ann Arbor, but. Oh well, it hit me. I'm gonna say.
Home, Richards? Because that was farther up.
That might have been the first or second time we'd been to Barbeau. But why would we stop? Well, so we wouldn't have stopped at Rogers City. We would have gone farther down. But the swamp sort of thing, that's unless we got a really late start, and that's not the way we did things. Well, that wasn't with Thomas when we went to Deer Lake there.
Yeah, because we took
Muskellun's Lake.
86.
Muskellun's Lake, yeah.
Yeah, we took Dooley.
Yeah, that was the, right. Well, where the hell? Of course, next to a swamp in Michigan.
Yeah, it's wild.
Well, particularly it was right next to a creek, Yeah. I still want to say Rogers City.
thinking it was kind of, maybe we were driving up to look around the place to see what
Oh, on the way up? Yeah, I think it was on the way
could
up.
have been like,
Yeah.
you know,
I think it was on the way up.
the driver.
Mondays. The day after Sunday, but it's not as bad as when I have to read both services on the first Sunday of the month. I didn't read, no, it just, Sundays are always a long day for me, which is great. I mean, I like it.
Yeah, 'cause they need to do Tony's in the afternoon.
Well, and Tony Ballman didn't join us this yesterday.
I'd love to know how Tony pisses Tony off.
And,
What?
yeah, less, least said, soonest mended, and all that kind of stuff. And you know, the two other parties involved would have their own version of events, all of which are true to their perceptions. And
Yeah.
here I am, you know. And of course, I've got the
Sort of mediator.
well, I got the, I have the peacemaker syndrome, the Mr. Fix-It syndrome. I mean, all docs do to a certain extent. You do too. You know, when you were really actively involved in your family's situations. And you know, it's a sure recipe for grief and frustration sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's just, you know, that's the way I was raised. I mean, somehow I took out of my upbringing that that's what I was expected to do. Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily a bad trait or
He's a mediator.
yeah. Of course, look what happened to the chief mediator and advocate.
Yeah.
No, nailed to a fucking cross is what he was. Interesting. If the Romans had executed Jesus by shooting him in the head, would we be wearing, you know, small little versions of guns around their necks? kind of like those gangsta rappers do. Can you imagine one of these big mega churches, you know, with the projection screen, you know, big blow up of a gun, you know?
So a crucifix
Instead of a
on the
cross,
wall.
yeah.
Yeah, a gun on the wall. Behind the altar.
Dude.
Hey, is that him one up her daddy or
Oh, I know. It'd be interesting. Of course, they
is that a 2
well,
or 3?
or they actually, you know, the Greeks, when they wanted to put somebody out of their misery, say who was injured in battle, they'd use a stone chisel, you know, and they'd put it against the guy's neck, and they'd hit it with a stone and break his neck. But of course, the Romans didn't want to execute anybody mercifully. They wanted them to, you know, suffer horribly in public as an example.
Yeah,
So
that's why they would
That's why they use crucifixion.
you.
Yeah.
reason of the
Well, it's like breaking people on the wheel, you know, in Europe in the Middle Ages.
yeah.
You tie some guy to a wheel, and you take an iron bar, and you break all of his long bones in sequence, and then just let him lie there.
Stretch rack.
Well, there's the rack, but you know, but the wheel wasn't the rack. It was just they just tied you up so they'd break all your long bones, and you'd essentially hemorrhage to death internally while you laid there, and people, you know, reviled you and made a, you know, took.
Then you had the Roman Coliseum where they let the lions play with people
Yeah.
they didn't like.
Oh yeah, it was that,
Dinner coming in.
yeah, feeding time.
Or watch. Make sure you clean your plate.
Yes. Be a member of the Clean Plate Club. No, I am. I'm a member of the Clean Plate Club.
I can just see somebody telling a line that. Make sure you clean your plate. Eat everything.
Oh, man. I wish people could hear what's going on inside my neck right now. Sounds like a gravel truck somebody.
Unloading.
Yeah. Hey, look out here when they were doing the road. So there's no tailgate that actually slams shut at the end. Oh, can you imagine if the dogs were around and when all that was going on?
See,
They would have gone insane.
Shaq was going nuts.
Yeah.
Oakwood is just too good.
And I think Oaklander would probably be more or less indifferent to it. Heidi would have just done her trademark bark over and over and over and over and over and over.
She'd be ricocheting all over the damn deck.
Sweet Heidi. Sweet Oak.
Constantly running around in the backyard screaming her head off.
Oh, she loved that. She loved to do that. She was sort of doing the continual hunt in the backyard.
Yeah, but okay, she would run around and do that scurrying around bird hunting and stuff
Yeah,
and that.
yeah.
But God, with the noise, she would, and the guys yelling back,
oh, it'd be awful.
she would constantly be yelling and screaming at them.
Oh, it'd be awful. I mean, it's, in a way, it's good they died when they did because they were,
you would have to put her in a car and take her somewhere to calm her down.
Yeah. She did like to ride in the car. Well, they all did, actually. I was saying how Heidi'd crawl up on your lap, and then when she'd fall asleep, she'd take a leak down your leg.
Or she'd get up there and we'd be having pizza and stuff. Sneak her head over.
She was kind of an instigatorial too. She would instigate stuff between the other
Liz
two.
was over here one night, we were having pizza, and she had to get up on my lap, and I got her up there and had her head on this arm.
Yeah. Yeah, she usually slept with your head on your right arm, yeah.
I was sitting in the direction you are, and listen, she's trying to get at your pizza. I said, yeah, I know.
Well, we were pretty good. We were pretty strict about not giving them anything off the table. They could lick the fry pan and stuff.
Yeah.
The odd crust, maybe, but even I didn't like the frequency with which that happened. But I never gave. Well, I did give them crust a couple of times, but it was usually after the fact, after we've left the eating area.
I remember the night we found that pizza.
Oh, that was.
On Powell Road.
Yeah, we found the pizza on Powell Road. Yeah.
And it was Cap.
I think it was just Cat.
Pro.
Was Pro in
It
this?
was too.
The two?
But
they were at home. We were coming home from the bar.
No, we were coming home from the Hazel.
Oh, we were coming home from Chris Hayden's?
Over there at Lakeview. And
well, no,
there was something.
over there on the side of the river when they lived in
but the street thing was late.
Oh, was that the name of the street?
She lived on Lakeview.
I never actually paid attention to the name of the street. I just knew how to get there.
It was Lakeview. I've always wanted a moat. Now I've got a moat with a bridge. You had that bridge.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was that odd. Yeah, that was an interesting subdivision. Yeah, so yeah, and I was amazed nobody had run over the pizza,
Yeah. But there was something on the table, and I said,
I don't know why I thought there might be pizza in that thing. I think because the box looks so intact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
It was good pizza from what we got of it.
there was something on the table. I set it on a chair, and
Well,
Cat
yeah,
grabbed the
well,
box
we
and just
I think
threw it. And
we had a couple of, and I think you went to the can, I went to the can, and then we came back, the thing was gone. He was clearly the only culprit that could have eaten the entire thing. And it couldn't have been more than a couple of minutes. At least he didn't eat every rock he came across like Oak Ranger did. I would have loved to have had an iron, just a total dog autopsy on him, actually. What?
That's why,
What's left inside?
you come back with the ashes, and I'm like, wait, got rocks burn up that well?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of these rocks dissolved in his stomach acid. It's like, when Pete Christopher killed himself, they were at his funeral, Thomas and all these guys at his funeral. I think it was Annie said, I can't believe that all of Pete's in that little tiny box. Because he was cremated, yeah. He's a tall guy. He was 6'5" at least. Yeah.
Good luck.
Pardon?
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, he's nice. He's a good guy. He's a very, very pleasant guy. Smart as hell. Yeah. That's part of the problem when you decide you can't. Well, plus he was schizophrenic, and he didn't like to take his meds. He says, when I'm on my meds, I'm fine. He says, but I don't like myself. I know, and he had given when did he kill himself? He was like 31, I think, when he killed himself. 31, 32? Pardon? Oh yeah. No, he was in his early 30s.
I thought they were all still in high school.
No. They were all out in the world. Chris Cole's a nurse in Cleveland. And, Annie came in from Chicago. Yeah. No, he'd given a good shot. He just didn't want to do it anymore. So how did he kill himself? Did he do it himself with a
I think put a rag.
He did.
Like
he did either a drip halothane thing on a rag, or a drip isoflurane thing on a rag, and just inhaled himself into, terminally deep anesthesia. Yeah. He might have done halothane. Hell, I might have even talked about how that would be a way to do that to yourself if you wanted to at one point when he was out here. He was out here about 3 or 4 times. Of course, his dad was a psychiatrist. His mom was a psychiatrist too. So yeah. She was nuts, as it turned out.
She killed herself.
Yeah, she killed herself. Yeah. That's too bad. It's a waste. Still, I take his point. If you can't be who you really want to be, sometimes, yeah, I guess I was at that point once myself. Come to think of it, come to remember.
Yeah, I know there were times he'd disappear when they were in school and stuff, and all those Thomas and all of them would take off and run all over town. Hunt him down, they'd find him here or there, just sitting in the middle of a field.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But
on a hillside.
well, I never heard that, but I'll take your word for it. Me with a spoon. I don't know what it's about Mondays, you know. Just takes me.
Just don't want to do.
Hell, I got 7.5 hours of sleep last night. I'm fine, you know. No, well,
Yeah.
that happens. That's what it is.
Sitting there looking at 30 clay this morning.
My
Fuck
grace
it,
is
I'm
sufficient
not
unto thee.
mood.
2 Corinthians 12.
I'm not in the mood to hang out. I'll do it tomorrow.
Do what?
Longer.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to wash more frequently than I do. Yeah, I'll have to. Well, I mean, close. I mean, done my last 5 or 6 pair of underwear. I'll have to wash it some. Plus, my jeans are filthy. I'm always reluctant to wash them because they always shrink. At some point, I won't be able to wear them.
I'm always thinking of getting a smaller than a 32. Those black pants I wear for work. Shit, they're always pulling down off my head. I'm always walking.
Well, you have a
Cut
belt.
everything in my pocket.
You wear a belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, a belt.
But it's still, you know, I got the belt in the last hole and everything, and they keep slipping down off over my hips, and I'm getting
Oh, well,
pulled up with
put
everything in
another
it.
hole in the belt. You take your knife and
Yeah.
make a hole in the belt. I mean, I've put 2 or 3 in my belts now. And then, you know, since I've now started, you know, gaining weight back again, I might have to, you know, I hope that doesn't happen.
You don't look like you're putting on weight.
Yeah, I'm running now around 191 rather than 185, 186. But you know, set points. I think my set points reset itself. I don't really have because I'm really not eating. I don't change my ingestion habits at all.